All right, welcome to lesson 72, H Radio 223 part-timers. So just to kind of recap as to where we left off, because it's a single, obviously it's a single presentation. And 71 and 72, as you can see, are bundled up together. We were busy with beds and jingles, as well as imaging just in general, and we're ending it off. Here we go, two and three of three. Again, just to kind of recap as to where we are in the textbooks, on the textbook Next Level Radio, at 6.7 to 6.11. We've covered page 238 to 245, and going to be looking at donuts. I know we have discussed the concepts, the overview of donuts, liners, and again, calls to action, but we're going to break it down a little bit further in this lesson. It's going to be quite a short lesson, just because it's the other half of this as well. And excuse me if I do cough, as you know. I think I am sounding a little bit better in comparison to the last two lessons. So again, thanks for just the patience on that. If I do cough, apologies in advance. All right. So as I said, we want to just be able to continue and just close up with this particular lesson. And then for the week, there will be lesson 73 and 74. And this is obviously the pre-recorded week where you are again just looking at these lessons from home. If there are any questions, once again, just about the summative that is due in it's 4 weeks up, 4 weeks from now. Just obviously make contact with me and reach out at any one point. Do not hold back, right? And don't wait till the last minute as well, so we can get this done. All right. So let's continue with selling a message and a call to action. Um, just again, just to kind of recap and revise as to where it was that we left off. Remember that we said, just at the end of that, of beds and jingles, and what was bed and what was a bed. It was there to really create kind of an atmosphere and a certain vibe, for particular parts of your show. We have generic beds that we might use throughout the show, and then specific beds perhaps maybe that are related to certain features, etc., right? And then we spoke about kind of like umbrellaing the term jingles under, there's just imaging rather, because there's a number of different sects of what comes under imaging. There's IDs, there's stings, there's jingles themselves, there's liners, and so on and so forth, right? That we said, okay, let's kind of break it down and see kind of examples of that as well. Again, just to recap on this particular last slide there, once again, look at samples of previous work that you have also done within your own archives, or sample work that is within your station itself. Again, matching the correct voice over artist to that particular listener base, very important, right? And hold the casting call, obviously, to get the correct person. Don't just pick, obviously, the first available voiceover artist or someone that you might have heard and particularly liked. That's fine. Maybe somewhere else, maybe on an advert or on TV or whatever it may have been, or you're seeking out, or you're kind of thrifting through like a voice bank or whatever it may be. Go look at a couple more as well. And again, it's all about knowing that you got to reach your demographic, as also touch base with them as well. Play out some test test imaging, see what they think and see how they respond to it as well. See that obviously this particular person is able to deliver properly, presenting versus storytelling. Like, for example, if we are trying to explain how a specific promo is working, and so on and so forth I'm saying in the context of storytelling. Consider pitch, cover the small details, obviously. Choose the right accent for the right target market again, and think long term, as to like, you want to be able to use the voice of the station to line up with your mission statement, I suppose, and your brand image. So for quite a long time, maybe like 3 years, looking at like 1 to 3 years at least. Um, but particularly, obviously, more specifically, the long run. So we kind of look at it indefinitely, quote unquote, right? Okay, so that saying, having said that, and again, kind of recapping as to where we left off, this particular person should also be the person that does, is the one that's heading up those liners, heading up those donuts, etc., etc. Right, when we're doing a call to action as well. Now we have our own particular call to action as a DJ, as a presenter, which we have obviously discussed, and you know that if we're asking our listener and our audience to go and do something, right? So you obviously maybe can relate it directly to, let's say, a call out. So, what do you think of this? Have you ever been in this situation? What is your current standing on the political climate of blah 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 blah, right? So those are call outs that we have been doing, but also under the call, and we umbrella that to a call to action. We're telling that particular listener go ahead and do this. But underneath that, we can also, as we've seen before in some of the examples, like go and subscribe to, go follow us here. Make sure you tune in to the drive show at this particular time for this competition. This is how you enter, excuse me. Once again, when we are looking at that the obviously the aim is selling a message and then a call to action before writing any jingles, liners, donuts, or any other radio station imaging, ask yourself the following questions and ensure that obviously the engagement of these listeners is maximized. So who is the target audience? Because you want to talk to them the way that they understand and they communicate as well, right? And you want to talk to them about things that matter to them as well, right? So why should they care about the product or the service that you are currently talking about? So if we are talking about OMO, why are we bringing up OMO 10 to 1? Because we've seen in research that our listeners prefer OMO over, I don't know, Mac or whatever it may be, right? So we're talking about the new OMO with its, I'm saying, with new features. I don't know how OMO works, but I'm sure they do grow in some other way, right? When it comes to products. But here we go, like I say, like a service. It could be like a new, obviously new outlets that are opening up, new postnets, for example, new, Edgars that are opening up. I don't know, right? And or we could look at drop-off points, for example. Like I said, with a postnet, we could have, a bit of expanded services. So there's an already existing product, works well, and obviously is being used with our with our listeners or amongst our listeners. Just give me a second. Just want to quickly, excuse me. So finish that sentence. I had a real cough fit there. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, just about the services, the different, different ideas, and again, brands that could be existing as clients that we know, and maybe are expanding to new aspects or new outlets, or just new avenues, maybe is a better word to use. Okay. So how will the product or service benefit the listener? So that's straightforward. Obviously, just as a suffix to what I just said there as well. What makes this product or service particularly exciting? Okay, how does it add value to the particular listener's life? Why would you want the listener to heed the call to action and act immediately? So immediately go and follow us on whatever it may be, or immediately send us a text with your ID number or whatever it is, or go register at whatever, right? So there's a time limited promotion. Maybe you can only get it today. Maybe you can only get it in the month of October. Or now we're going to head off to Black Friday with November, as we know. So we'll definitely see this type of time limited, I would say orientation for promotions happening soon. Quite soon in terms of our line of sight, as I just mentioned there, right? So is there a reason for the audience to want to act immediately, right? Okay, so let's go to the next idea. All right, are there any questions about the product or the service that you can anticipate? And if there are, because you should be able to be kind of a bit of a master of this particular product or service, like a secondary master to the actual person who owns the product or owns the service that comes to you at the radio station and says, "Look, I want an extension of this in terms of like, can we do business?" That particular sales representative or the sales and marketing team, whatever it is, must be able to claim ownership of that particular product. So, in other words, they would know a little bit more of, I would say, insight. They would have insight to what is expected or what the listener or the customer or whatever it is would want more of this particular product or service. A good example would be like, for example, cellular service or a cell phone, or where you know it's a product, but we want to be able to explain, for example, how and why 5G is like a commonplace service that you should have or whatever it is. And these are the reasons why. So anyway, if you think there are or there might be any objections from the listener to the product or the service, how can you adjust that copy? So in other words, the written script that you are writing for the recording process of these calls to actions, messages that we are selling, how are we going to rewrite that particular copy, right? The script to be able to match up distinctively, right, with these objectives, right? Okay, so these might sound like questions you would only ask when writing copy for an advertisement, but in reality, every piece of imaging is a way for us to advertise something. It's a call to action, as we said there, right? So filtering the copy using questions allows you to examine the effectiveness of the messaging and obviously helps you sell. Sell is one thing, but connection is at the core of that and is really important. So we want to be able to connect to a listener that will trust us, or they'll become loyal, or they are a loyal consumer of our brand, whatever it may be, right? And so we can then expect them to buy, quote unquote, whatever it is that we want to quote unquote sell them as well. Okay, so once again, just to have a look at a little bit of a more detailed definition of each of these types of imaging. So, for example, the jingles, short music items that include sung slogans, right? Catchphrases and your station's name. So once again, just to recap as to what I said before, like with a jingle, there's a little bit of like sound effects, and for some, I think the Chickers Yard, the Chickers one in the previous lesson. So it's that little catchy tune that you might find. It's not always something that is sung as a slogan, but it will have maybe some kind of music element to the actual production of it, right? So a donut, as we explained before, that kind of beginning and the end at top and tail, where we go and we advertise. Basically, we're promoting a specific show, and the best elements of that particular show. So it's a typical jingle usually has the singing at the beginning and the end of the commercial, right, with an announcer speaking in the middle. And that part in the middle is referred to as the donut, right? And this is where the announcer delivers a message. Very kind of old school terminology there, or old school definition with the use announce and stuff like that. Try to think of it in terms of, or in terms of the definition that I gave you, example that I gave you. All right. With liners, also known as sweepers, stings, promos, station IDs, right? So there's things that we saw before that said you're listening to whatever, XFM, XFM, the voice of the nation or the voice of the people or whatever it may be, right? Spoken announcements, normally less than 20 seconds long, very quick, very punchy, either wet or dry, in terms of production, right? That are played in between songs and obviously or as an overlay, right? So between songs, the segue. So you hear the song, you'll hear obviously the sweeper, the sting, the promo, the station ID, the liner under the umbrella, right? And normally the station name is included, right? Okay, so again, just moving on to once again, just beds. It's the music bed, simply put, is a song without lyrics, musical composition behind a voice a voiceover. So it's found wherever someone may have the need for background music. So we might use it. I'm not saying we always use it, as we said before in talk links. Definitely, obviously, the option for imaging, definitely to create some kind of atmosphere, for example, in commercials that we are producing, and so on. Right, and then there's pathos, the pathos, right? Um, it's a quality that stirs emotion. So what are we trying to do when we're, I think I spoke briefly about like, trying to create a scary atmosphere, try to create a Christmassy atmosphere, try to create a New Year'sy atmosphere, a happy, a sad, whatever it may be, right? So if you think about, let's say, us advertising funeral policies versus us advertising a holiday, out in Cape Town or whatever it is, Gordons Bay, we'd use different would use a different construct and a approach to that particular construct. And when I say that in terms of the production of it, to get the right feeling out, the emotional appeal, instead of just assuming that there's going to be some kind of a logical connection between whatever we are putting together in production and then now this listen, which doesn't make any sense, right? Even if you think about our let's say our hard sell advertising, and just to talk about advertising in particular, and a hard sell is when you hear like it's they just you hear the voice of an artist and you hear the advertisement, they're just selling something. So it's nappies at 19.99, and don't forget to grab your free Coca-Cola 2 liter at, right? Behind there, you're going to hear a certain, like I said, there's going to be certain music, atmospheric music, right? Atmosphere, background music, that is going to be like kind of hard, punchy, like fast and punchy, and it's going to be hyper, whatever it is. It's going to build a hype up, right? Uh, because we are selling, excuse me, right? We are selling and we're selling hard, 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 hard. So again, you would hear it even as something so simple and something so straightforward as a hard sell, where we're just naming a product and we're just naming a price, right? And a quantity for it, whatever it is. Maybe you get like 2 for 1 or whatever, right? But that is at the pathos, right, which is at kind of, I would think, at the center of your production when it does come to all of these aspects that we've spoken about now. Excuse me, right? Is how you would do this correctly and successfully, right? So if we look at just the types of radio images, essentials for obviously sending a message, this can be used for advertising, copy, audio imaging, audio branding. You have to attract the listener's attention. You don't have to be loud and proud, but you got to get the person's attention, right? Uh, an advert, and we've heard many adverts. Again, I'm just referring to adverts because it's quite easy we get so many adverts thrown at us and every single day, all day and all night, right? Wherever we are. If we look at the audio aspect, let's say an audible one, we if it again, it's that tone, that temperament, and the quality of what it is that we're trying to say. So even if the voice, like the voiceover artist, has failed in a great delivery or an accurate delivery, or the person has not been directed well enough, or it is self-made, or again, the wrong effects have been used, or there's too much effect. So there's an overload of sound effects, whatever it is, and it's distracting or whatever it is. You're going to get the listener's attention, but you're going to get it in the wrong way. So you need to attract, is the word there, is attract the listener's attention. Speak to the listener's self-interest, right? What is important to them, right? Are they there? I'm saying, so are they where you think this product particularly is in their life, right? Um, and that goes obviously the same for the actual station itself. I use words that paint pictures because once again, it's theater of the mind, just to be a little bit redundant there, right? Avoid being overly clever or creative. Motivate the listener to go and do something. Listen to this, go visit this, go shop here, whatever it is. Try and avoid the cliches because as much as you think that people like cliches, they always work. They don't. If you go into the corny, then people will focus on the corny and not focus on on the quality, and keep it short, at the end of the day. So there's just a bit of the graphical representation of that on page 244. Attract the listener's attention. Again, speak to the listener's self-interest. Use the words that paint the picture correctly. Avoid being overly clever or creative. Motivate the listener. Avoid the cliches and keep it obviously short, just to reiterate that once again. So, excuse me. So a call to action is a statement designed to get an immediate response reaction from the person reading or hearing it. So otherwise, it's a call to nothing. Like, it's a call to action. And there's obviously the keyword, right? Keyword action. When I'm going to make them go and do something. Tune in is the action. Keep listening is the action. Stand a chance to win. It's a probable action. Like, you could win. So why not just wait around and listen out, and don't forget to not tune out. You understand? Tweet us now with your answer at whatever it is, with the hashtags this. Our lines are open for you to call in now and share your views with us. Right. So what is it? The call to action: call in now. What is the other call to action? Share your view. Listen out tomorrow. Listen, and we're going to be speaking with this person about this person, about this thing, should I say, right? Visit xxx.com. Sounds dirty, right? And enter the competition now. So visit is the one call to action. Go into the competition is another call to action. So just gonna quickly just pull up textbook, just give me a second. And you can also just hop into your page as well. We've obviously started with this particular example, or should I say activity, in the previous one, 245. Here we go. Right, but now it's just completing, because we're now complete with this particular subsection of the learning, and then we'll obviously move over to what was that? I think it's a bit of advertising, right, in the next section. Okay, so number two, activity 6C2 is explain what a radio jingle is and give 3 reasons for why it is used in radio production, right? And number 3 says match the following terms in column A with the correct definitions in column B. And the first one is donut, liner, beds, pathos, and imaging. And you can literally go and have a look like at the slides that we just did there. The options are: number 1, content that is heard between songs, adverts, and speaking sequences. Option number 2 is the musical composition behind the voiceover in the imaging, commercials, talk links. Option number 3 is beginning and end of a piece of audio imaging. Option number 4 is imaging that contains the name of the station or the show. And option number 5 is a quality that stirs emotions. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to end that lecture over there. No extra videos for today. I just want to kind of keep it simple. I think it's really straightforward, and you know exactly what it is that I've spoken about. But also, we have looked at some added value material in the other videos, so really just didn't want to go and be repetitive around that. We'll start off with the new section in the next lesson. All right, see you then.